In this 5-minute episode, I'm talking with a corporate cybersecurity professional with experience in IT networks, information security analysis, compliance and cloud security architecture. A former full-time then part-time instructor at NAIT and now cybersecurity advisor to C-suite in one of Canada's largest corporations. He's worked for government, retail, utilities, health and education, and he's presented Let's Make Fun of Cybersecurity last year at B-Sides Edmonton, which is where I met him for the first time. Congratulations, Prashant, on gaining SANS Global Industrial Cybersecurity Professional Certification after 4 months of rigorous training. That's quite an achievement, and shows that even experienced professionals still value these kinds of micro-credentials when they're already embedded in a career in cybersecurity. At one time, you were looking at a PhD in quantum computing and digital signatures and presented at the ICE conference back in 2009. Can you tell me a bit about the thesis, a little bit about your PhD?
Okay, thank you, Alex, first of all, for giving me this opportunity to be part of this mini podcast series. Any expressions or opinions I'll be giving are of my own and not of my employer or any professional organization I'm entitled to. Thank you for congratulating me on the SANS GICSP certification. It is definitely an achievement I have been hoping for the past couple of months after a lot of training on this. And it's a certification which, for all reasons, even having experience in this industry is something I think is very important to have. Yeah, with regards to your question around my PhD in quantum computing and digital signatures, it is a very important field and something I always liked during my career in the past. In fact, when I was in my college and university days, I wanted to see if there is a field which could marry physics with computer science, as I've always been an enthusiast of physics. And this was the field that actually married quantum mechanics with computer science and always intrigued me. Research has always been close to my heart and I always like to talk about in various conferences.
Now, I didn't send you these questions a week ago like I did for Maxwell Abayabasi. And as I know you're familiar with and have an opinion on these technologies that I've got down here in this list, if you can give me on a scale of 1 to 5 how important you feel these technologies are to an organization, and we'll start with SIM, Security Information and Event Management.
Yes, so SIM or SIM as we call it as different acronyms for this technology, but it in my opinion is a very important one. In the scale of 1 to 5, I would definitely give it a 4 for sure, if 5 is the highest, because it is all about visibility and you can't monitor or safeguard things what you don't know. I do see SOAR there and generative AI, deep fake videos and audio jacking. And so SOAR in my opinion would be 4 as well. Because it's all about automation and orchestration these days. There is so much proliferation of cybersecurity technologies in the industry now that it is important that we find avenues to automate and orchestrate many of these in playbooks or analyst playbooks. And SOAR is definitely a technology which can bring in various other technologies to give you a view of how to do incident response or SOC duties in it.
And then we have endpoint detection and response.
Yes.
On devices such as cell phones, Windows, laptops, Macs, etc.
Absolutely. So endpoint detection and response, by the way, is actually a evolution of what we used to call antivirus in our old days of the past. And now it has become more of a technology at the endpoint control, which is important, and I would give it a rating of, I would say 4 as well. And on the endpoint, which is the last line of defense, if you see defense in depth strategy, is the last line. I mean, and EDR is what basically saves your bacon.
Right, thank you. So if a attacker is within your network and they breach your network, preventing them from going laterally and exfiltrating your company's data is very important with NDR.
I don't have a lot of experience on the NDR technologies, to be honest with you. I would give it a 3 in my opinion.
How about a cyber criminal's temptation on your organization when they look at your organization from the outside, called attack surface management?
ASM technologies or attack surface management is, in my opinion, a budding up and coming and budding field where certainly, the exposure you have is where you could be attacked, and these are the inputs or threat vectors through which bad actors can actually come into your organization. Whether you have exposure to the internet, whether you have exposure to bad actors physically or otherwise, are considered to be the attack surfaces of your organization. Having said that, I would give it a 3 because it is still an upcoming field. We got to see where it matures into.
Now, there's a term which I'm not sure is familiar to most people in cybersecurity. It's UAX, Unified Analyst Experience. Having a unified experience where one person can look at a single open platform without having to do swivel chair to look at a number of different tools. How important do you think that is within an organization these days?
It is basically centralizing in one single pane of glass these myriad of technologies and giving the analyst that that information and that wisdom to act upon those things. So in my opinion, I would still, if it is a technology coming up and budding, I would give it a 4, because this is important, and this is a long-lasting problem in cybersecurity, as in other fields, that single pane of glass view is very hard to come, and we have become so complex in our way of doing things that we have probably lost the objective of figuring out how to keep things simple.
GRC tools, they're not necessarily cybersecurity tools, but they help an organization do auditing and reporting to regulators and stakeholders.
So GRC, as you just mentioned, governance, risk, and compliance. In my opinion, I'll give it a 3. Compliance is an after effect or is an outcome if you do security right.
An organization can't always do things themselves. This is not a loaded question. Third parties can help you with threat management and advise you on threat intelligence. They can often have a huge wealth of information at their disposal that they share across multiple clients in order to be able to provide the best advice to a single corporation.
Third parties are important by all means, and I will give them a 4 as well, for the simple reason, many of the corporations in the industry, their main job is not cybersecurity or IT for that matter. So many of these organizations, obviously for budget constraints and whatnot, cannot have a full-fledged cybersecurity workforce to work for them. So they need to augment that staff, that capability with these third parties who are not just bringing in the human resource and the skill set, but also the intelligence, also the real-world scenarios. Also, these organizations have lived many of these war stories and incidents in other organizations. So they bring that best practice to help out with these engagements with these clients in the corporate world.
So cyber resilience then, after a company has been breached and they need to maybe they've had some data stolen, maybe they've been ransomed and they just shut their systems down, being able to recover from a data breach or from a data theft, being able to have protected client information, client data, privacy data, how important do you think cyber resiliency is as part of business continuity planning or BCP?
So you have to be in a mindset and in a state to understand that you could be under attack or that you could be under a breach scenario, but you need to continue to run operations, because that is the bane of existence of any organization, to make money, for stakeholder engagement, for shareholder value. So cyber resilience is important, and I think we need to shift our mindset from, as I said before, from prevention to understanding, can we continue to be resilient in the face of attacks happening in our organization. There are many ways you can cover that from various different philosophies, but I would give cyber resilience a 4 for that matter.
In the past couple of years, it's been getting increasingly difficult to retain a job in IT, let alone start out in it. To that end, I'm trailing this mini-series with Hammer Talent Consultants. I believe Hammer's diversity sourcing options could help your team reflect varied perspectives crucial for tackling the ever-changing cyber threat landscape. And their targeted outreach maintains your company's confidentiality with potential candidates. Ask Hammer for a meeting to enhance your hiring strategy today. Prashant, I was reading an article by Victor Ronin in medium.com about the word hacker and how it's changing its meaning over the last few years, from coder to cybercriminal to ethical hacker. In your B-Sides presentation last year, you appealed to the audience not to become hackers. I presume this was not to become cybercriminals.
That is correct, Alex. So in fact, I'm a little bit of a philosophical mindset when it comes to cybersecurity as well. And I've read some books as well of the past. That word got mixed and matched by the media over a long period of time, where they thought hackers are bad people. But in my opinion, still hackers are diehard, passionate people who like to learn technology and to step further into the progress in the industry.
And perhaps want to help organizations close their back doors so that they don't get breached.
Absolutely.
And so that clients don't suffer.
Informed disclosure, so they're not using those vulnerabilities for bad reasons or for bad means. They discover those vulnerabilities and then they share it with those organizations and even options to go fix those issues. We need to share, because we have to be right every time. The bad guys have to be right only once.
Absolutely. Prashant, being a cybersecurity advisor and being paid to advise, do you find in general that the people paying you act on your advice?
The short answer is yes. The long answer, I would say, depends on how you propose that advice and how you build those stakeholder engagements and how you bring that risk management methodology and concept into the real world in normal and easy language for those stakeholders to understand.
What advice could you give people who are about to start their career in cybersecurity around training or hands-on or qualifications?
So the advice I would give is you got to find your passion in this field if you are in this field. Find good mentors in this field. You can't learn everything. You need to have good mentors who can tell you what to do, how to do, who have already proven themselves or have gone through the motions of this in their own industry, in their own life. I think you need to move from the world of concepts, which are important, to the world of hands-on. And there are many ways as students, whether in different universities or colleges, you can become hands-on. I teach also some certification courses, so like CISSP as they call it, which we all call is the gold standard of cybersecurity, which I would definitely recommend anybody to take on for sure. But they call it an inch deep and mile wide certification. Right. So it is inch deep as it'll give you a flavor of every different sections within cybersecurity discipline, but it'll be a mile wide. It'll give you the whole gamut of what you need to do. So to start the basics, I would say start with CISSP. Again, it needs 5 years experience and whatnot, so you can actually look into the requirements for that. I mean, if it is literally you are totally new into the field, then there are other certifications like CEH, like SSCP, which could give you a good start before you can jump into more advanced certifications like CISSP or CCSP.
And will give you a micro-credential which could be valuable for getting accepted as a candidate at a job interview. Certify to show that you understand what you're talking about, and then hands-on proves that you know what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Prashant. It's been great speaking with you. Prashant could be a future CISO, and he could certainly make fun of cybersecurity in my organization. You now know a bit more about cybersecurity from a corporate advisor's perspective. I'll be back in a week or so with the fourth and final minus bonus episode in this series with a security storage and software specialist and colleague at IBM.